I think I'm just overthinking everything.
Is this actually working? I'm not confident that I'm going to finish this.
I don't really know what to do now.
You may have heard the story about the ceramics teacher, who on opening day announced that he was dividing the class into 2 groups. All those on the left side of the studio, he said, would be graded solely based on the quantity of the work, while those on the right side of the studio would be based only on their quality. His procedure was simple. On the final day, he would bring in a scale and weigh the quantity group. 50 pounds of pots rated for A, 40 pounds for B, and so on. Those being graded on quality, however, needed to produce only 1 pot, albeit a perfect one, to get an A. When grading time came, a curious fact emerged. The works of the highest quality were all produced by the group being graded for quantity. It seems while the quantity group was busily churning out piles of work and learning from their mistakes, the quality group had sat theorizing about perfection, and in the end had little more to show for their efforts than grandiose theories and a dead pile of clay. So to me, on paper, quality should outstrip quantity every time. Would you rather make a ton of really terrible paintings that you or nobody else really cares about, or would you rather make one painting that you actually really like? Like the story about the pottery class, which by the way is from Art and Fear, I find artists speaking time and time again on the benefits of quantity. Quality is subjective where quantity is not. If you make 1,000 paintings, people can debate the quality all they want, but they cannot deny that there are 1,000 of them. But imagine if you spent those 1,000 paintings learning from your past mistakes and taking what you learned and putting into the next painting, and then the next one, and then the next. It seems when I look at the artists that I admire, I find an endless supply of paintings, like the work of Yoshitaka Amano. I admire just the pure creativity in his work, and I wish it for my own, and have to think that his productivity has to be linked to the quantity of work that he's produced. Van Gogh really only painted for about 10 or so years, but produced over 2,000 paintings, and Picasso over the course of his lifetime produced over 10,000. You can debate the quality all you want, but these are 2 of the most influential artists to ever live. I am someone who thinks I am quality over quantity, usually spending at least a couple weeks on a painting, sometimes even a month or more, and I've spent days over detailing and overthinking that kind of led to some stagnation. Sometimes it's difficult to start a painting knowing that it has to be worth the few weeks of my life I'm planning to spend on it. We're in an age where it seems like artists are producing work faster than ever, and it's very easy to feel like you're being left behind. So the question arose, has quality been holding me back? What would happen if I stopped aiming so much for quality and started focusing on quantity? Would this help my overall creativity in my artwork? Would just making quicker paintings improve my skills faster? Or is me taking a few weeks to make a painting really just not that big of a deal and something that doesn't really need to be changed? I need a way to test this out, and I've seen a lot of terrible art challenges online, so I figured it'd be fun if I just tried one myself and see what happens. And the challenge I came up with was to make 5 paintings in 5 days. Yeah. Well, this might not seem like a crazy challenge to some people, as someone who's never finished a bigger painting in a single day, and as someone who tends to go a little overboard with details and overthink a little bit too much, this will be difficult. But let's go over some ground rules first. First off, all the paintings will be done traditionally, with real paint and real brushes, so I have to factor in drying times and all things like that related to traditional media. There has to be at least one character in every painting. I do a lot of portraits and figures, so I want it to be in line with my usual work, so no just painting a single flower and calling it a day. Size matters. All paintings will be at least 16 by 20 inches. No direct one-to-one photo studies. If you don't know what that means, it's basically that I'm not going to be repainting a photo one for one and just stylizing a bit or something. This is really a creativity challenge, and using a photo one for one, a lot's already figured out for you, like lighting, composition, color, overall idea, and so on. Not to say I won't use any photo reference at points, it just won't be used as a one for one guide for the painting. Okay, that should be everything, and I can't imagine this going horribly wrong. Okay, it's day 1, probably around 8:45 in the morning. About to begin with some thumbnail sketches. I'm starting with these loose pencil drawings on just some sketch paper, just trying to get an idea of what to paint. Trying out a few options before I settle on one.
Okay, as you can see here, there are a few rough thumbnail sketches, very rough, not too great, but nothing too complicated. And I took one of those and kind of brought it up a little bit more. Just kind of a simple sword pose. The original sword was going to be this very complex sword that I ended up changing because I thought it was too complicated and just was visually distracting. So I went with something simpler. And yeah, I'm gonna clean this up more and then get it onto the actual illustration board I'll be painting on.
So the sketches on there, this is going to be a fan art of a character from a game called Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This game right here, actually. A few days ago, I finished another painting from the game of a different character named Verso. I was happy with how that one turned out, and people also seemed to like it online, so that was cool. Actually, you know what? I have it over there. I'll just point it out.
So here is the painting from I finished a couple days ago of the other character, Verso. You can see that. Yeah, I like how this one turned out, looking back on it. It was cool to see so many people reach out and say nice things about it, including the voice actor for Verso himself, Ben Starr. He even commented on it, so that was cool. Does that mean we're best friends now? I don't know, Ben, you tell me. Yeah, I probably did this painting from concept to completion in maybe a little over 2 weeks. So trying to do one in a single day, we'll see how that goes.
After I get done flexing that me and Ben Starr are best friends now, I start with the underpainting. You can really think of an underpainting as a value painting that you're going to add on top of. I was sort of debating if I was going to have enough time to do an underpainting. It maybe would have just been quicker to go in with color, but I'm trying to work the way I typically work and not change things up too much. And there's a bird chirping up a storm out there. So I think I'm finished with the underpainting here. It's a little rougher than my underpaintings typically are, but I have to move on at this point if I want to come even close of getting this done. With the underpainting done, I'm now adding color on top of that first underpainting layer. Starting with the skin, working up the face and the hands, eventually moving on to the hair. The painting at this point is going decent so far, but I feel like there's random points where I remember that this has to be done in a day and that I don't have my usual timeline to finish it, and that sort of creates a little dread or anxiety that I'm not really used to while I'm painting. I've had a lot of deadlines before, but never one this quickly. When I actually start to have fun painting and zone out like I typically do while I'm painting, something just snaps back to me like, oh shit, this has to be done in a day, and time is limited. At this point, I actually think this painting is going pretty well. Holy shit, is this actually working? First layer of skin and hair done, just short of 5 p.m. As time is quickly moving on, I am painting the clothes now with color. I definitely have a more classical or traditional way I approach my paintings. While painting this, I sort of realized that I've done a decent amount of side profile paintings over the past couple paintings I made, so I don't think I stepped out of my comfort zone too much with this, but I definitely feel like I had a lot more ideas to make this painting more interesting and better, but I couldn't add anything to it or fix anything up because I just didn't have the time to. The first layer of color is now officially done. Now I'm adding a cool dark wash over most of the painting to sort of connect it more. Cool as in like warm and cool. Not that I think that this layer is like fucking rad. Like damn, that's cool. Nah. Confidence is not high that this is going to get done in a day, but I'm going to get done as much as I can. After the rad layer of paint I just put on there is dried, I'm going in and adding the details. Obviously the painting is much darker now with that layer on top of it. And at this point I'm really just trying to get it close to looking finished, so I'm going in and adding detail with mostly colored pencils at this point. It's getting later and it's not finished. So this is where I'm calling it for day one. I think it turned out decent. I think to me it really looks like a painting of mine that's like 70% of the way done. It doesn't look
totally finished to me, but I do feel like I kind of stayed in my comfort zone a little bit with this one. I kind of wish I went and did something a little more, because this is supposed to be like a creativity challenge, and I feel like I just kind of done something like in my comfort zone. Like I've done portraits similar to this before. I think I was nervous to try to do something too challenging because I wouldn't be able to get anywhere close to done. Because at the end of the day, this challenge is to help my creativity and not to just polish up the things I already know. I'd rather this be something that pushes, compositions, colors, different things like that, rather than just focusing on portraits like I tend to do quite often. So yeah, that's it for today. See you tomorrow. Day 2 is starting off with slightly lower enthusiasm after not getting the first painting done, but with the same way with just doing some pencil sketches in my sketchbook. So last night as I was trying to go to sleep, I was also thinking about what I was going to paint today. And I remembered I had this old sketch of this concept for this painting that never really happened. The sketch is somewhere, I didn't even bother looking for it. The concept is that it's going to be very desaturated mostly throughout the whole painting, besides this opening that she's creating right here. I took a little bit of a different approach this time. Instead of working the sketches up traditionally, I decided to work the sketches up digitally just to see if that would help the process at all more. It was a little more convenient just being able to move stuff around easier and play with different ideas. But I still also like doing it traditionally too, so I'll probably do a mix of both going forward. The sketch process was definitely taking longer than the one yesterday took, and I was becoming very abundantly aware of that. So I have the rough sketch on there, but I'm actually running like an hour later than I was yesterday, and this painting is going to take longer than the one yesterday took, so I'm not confident that I'm going to finish this, and it's looking more like I'm going to have only unfinished paintings by the end of this challenge. I'm not really sure what that means for this challenge, but the quantity versus quality thing, and it kind of seems like making a painting in my style in a single day is just ridiculous, which I kind of already knew that, but yeah, I'm going to keep trucking along with the challenge and hopefully gain some insights from it, and hopefully it all works out in the end. I'm going to actually start applying paint to this now, so check back soon. Once again, starting with an underpainting, but going in with the blue this time. Since most of the painting is going to be desaturated, I can kind of just leave most of the painting this color. That's what I'm planning to by the end of it, is to have the one section in color and the rest of it sort of this desaturated blue color. But as the clock slowly starts to tick away and I rush a bit more and more, I become less and less satisfied. Update. Not great. I just think I know I'm falling behind, so I'm just rushing everything, and I feel like it looks like you can tell I'm rushing everything. I'm making mistakes more than I'm having to fix the mistakes, and yeah, I don't love the first layer, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, I wasn't super satisfied with where this was heading, but just had to continue with it. I really just tried to work up the face more because that's going to be the focal point of this, and if that's not good, the whole painting will be a failure. And with the time, I wouldn't be able to detail the hands and everything else, so I really am just trying to focus and get the face not looking too bad, I guess. Maybe the spirit of Jeff Keighley will help me. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. Eventually, as I start to work the face up more, I am becoming less dissatisfied with it, which is always good. I feel like that was the part that was really bothering me, so when I was able to fix that a little bit, it made the process slightly more enjoyable. We're getting somewhere. It's getting better, but still a long way to go and not a lot of time to do it. I'm really just trying to focus on the most interesting area because I don't think I'll be able to get to the hands and a lot of the body tonight. Finally, when I was able to add in color, I was able to see the original vision I had in the sketch. I feel like when that happened, it was able to come together a little bit more and not just be a random blue woman in a strange position. It's just that everything, even the flowers themselves, are so loose because I just didn't have a ton of time to detail them. But actually being able to add paint to the skin and the clothes did provide a little bit of comfort. But once again, it is getting later and later, and this painting is getting nowhere close to finished. Tick tock, tick tock. I'm racing the clock and I'm not winning. So I'm calling it quits on day 2 here. It is nowhere close to finished, but I've given all I've got to give today, and it's getting pretty late. I think it's okay. I just think it's a halfway finished painting. I like the concept. I think there's potential there. There's just so much that still needs work. There's so much I wanted to add that I didn't have time to. So many areas that need, more attention. But the potential's there. I like that it's more creative than my usual stuff. I tried to do something different, but only having one day to do it was a bit too ambitious for this painting and maybe this whole challenge. I don't really know what to do now. I'm not really sure what this means for the next few days because it's looking like there's going to be nothing but unfinished paintings. I don't want to simplify the paintings too much to get them done for the deadline. I just feel like that would also ruin the point of the challenge, but yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. Day 2 in the books. After spending 2 12-hour days on 2 separate paintings, I think it eventually all started to get to me a little bit. The first day could have been a fluke and I could have just not finished that painting, but after 2 days of not finishing it, it was pretty clear that I wasn't be able to get anything done that I liked in the time given. And I was tired. This is your warning for a very salty and tired Tommy art rant right now. After a tough morning of failure. So as you can probably tell from the timing, today is not going super well. I think I'm just overthinking everything. After the first 2 days I didn't finish anything, I'm just kind of second guessing myself on everything. I don't even know if this challenge is proving anything. I think I've been trying to do quality work in a very small amount of time. I've been trying to do quality and quantity at the same time, and it just isn't possible. Yeah, I guess my main thing is I just don't want this whole challenge to be for nothing. Like if I would have done it like a painting every 4 days, it just didn't seem that interesting, or one painting a week, like that didn't seem as interesting. So one painting a day seems like, okay, that's a real challenge. Like, how would that work? It turns out not well. I eventually just decided to do something that I thought might be fun, and I just picked a Fierce Deity from Majora's Mask, and I just, with pretty much no references, I just doodled something out and eventually put some ink with a dip pen onto it. And yeah, I'll be honest, I was not psyched about this. I did not care about this one at all. I was just doing it just to do it. But luckily, if you're worried about me, don't be, because I typically don't stay upset for too long. Or maybe I just get completely delusional. I'm not sure which. I've been drinking these green teas, and they started printing Shohei Ohtani on them. And like, I get it, like, he's really good. He hits baseballs to the moon, like, guy's a legend. Like, I don't really get why they had one small Shohei Ohtani and then one big Shohei Ohtani, like, right next to each other. Like, I feel like one normal size Shohei Ohtani probably would have been fine. Just both just staring off into the sky. Just loving green tea. Only 2 Shohei Ohtanis. Oh, got a quote by him. My green tea, my soul. Think he really said that? Maybe. Actually, I changed my mind. I want more Shohei Ohtanis on this bottle. At least, I don't want to take a sip and have the risk of not seeing Shohei Ohtani. I'm not sponsored by that, by the way. I do wish I was, though. Yeah, here I was really just throwing a quick layer of thin paint on top of this. Once again, I could not care less about this painting. I was just doing it just to do it. I thought I painted for a decent amount of time, and then I came back and looked at the footage, and I had 8 minutes of painting footage. So everything you're seeing now just happened in about 8 minutes. I was definitely feeling it, and I definitely wasn't super enthusiastic about painting like I usually am, which is disappointing because I like painting. So knowing that I was just wanting to get this over with, yeah, I don't know. But not giving up hope yet. I could turn this around tomorrow. Maybe Shohei Ohtani will be there. Who knows? At this point on day 4, I was convinced that I was going to be able to rebound after the rough previous day. Absolutely crushing Shohei Ohtani drinks left and right, making sure I was energized for the day. There was no way I'd fail. It's showtime, baby. It was the same thing as yesterday. Feeling like every idea I came up with was just a bad one, or it was a good idea but wasn't worth it because I wouldn't be able to execute it in the time given. So, I gave up. No, really, I quit. I just went back and started working on that Mael painting from the first day. But really, I didn't see the point of continuing with this challenge when I was either making an okay but unfinished painting, or just a quick finished painting that I was unhappy with. I start pretty much every morning doing a couple figure studies. I could have just thrown some quick paint on them and called it a day, but that's not what I wanted this to be about. That wouldn't be pushing my creativity. To me, if anything, this challenge was proving what I already thought, that quality was better than quantity. But also maybe this was just a bad way to test it. I said earlier I was inspired by Amano's work and how loose and creative it was. But I'm also very inspired by a lot of highly rendered, more classical stuff. And to execute that style well, you need time. I think my approach to this was off. The whole point of going for quantity was not to care so much about the end results and just to produce work. But to me, how can I force myself to spend time on a painting that I don't care about? That's not what art is about to me. Quantity should be an outlet where you can just have fun and experiment without caring so much about the end results. But spending 12 hours a day on a single painting every day is not recommended. Trying to detail and render them like my usual work, it just isn't possible in a day. Timelines and limitations can be good, but if you ask Christopher Nolan to make a movie in a day, it will probably not be any good, even though he is incredibly talented at what he does. The timelines have to be reasonable. After the challenge was over and I deemed it a failure, I had planned to scrap this video entirely and just go back to normal life. Just normal stuff that I like to do, like hanging with friends, going surfing, just typical stuff for me. Still working a lot on art and painting, but not overdoing it as much. And then something strange happened. I eventually did sit down to come up with some new ideas for paintings a few days later. After failing this challenge and struggling to come up with new ideas the last couple days of it, I wasn't really sure what to expect from these concepts. But then it just felt like they all started pouring out of me more than they ever have. Suddenly, without needing to get a painting done in a day, it allowed me to just relax and just have fun coming up with new ideas. It felt like I had been training with weights strapped to me and I finally took them off. I was having fun, I was experimenting more than usual, and I was getting better results in these small thumbnail sketches than I think I ever really had before. Why was this? Just because I was more relaxed with a less strict time limit? That same day, I just happened to stumble upon this study by George Land in collaboration with NASA that answers that exact question. To quickly go over it, George and his team came up with a simple test to find creative thinkers in order to see who was qualified to work at NASA, a job that requires a lot of creativity and out-of-the-box thinking. This test was so simple that they eventually decided to try it on children to see how they would fare. Not to work at NASA, but just to see the results. And the results were pretty astonishing, with children ages 4 to 5 having the highest results, at a whopping 98% being deemed highly creative. What's crazy is how quickly this number drops as the same children get older. At 10 years old, 30% were deemed highly creative. At 15 years old, it dropped to 12. And adults, with an average age of 31 with over 1 million people tested, 2% were deemed highly creative.
Look, folks, if we're going to enter the future with hope, that's not going to work. we have to do something about it.
His study concluded that there are two kinds of thinking: divergent, which is creative thinking, generating new possibilities, and convergent, making a judgment or criticizing.
When somebody asks you to come up with new ideas, as you come up with them, what we've mostly learned in school is to start looking at them immediately and trying to say, oh, well, you can hear the stuff that goes on. But we begin to use creative thinking and the brain lights up. It's just extraordinary what happens. And nature does this as well, we found. That evolution works that way, producing many alternatives, then through natural selection, selecting the best ones. But it's always creating a lot of possibilities before it starts selecting.
Creating a lot of possibilities before selecting the best one. This right here. Hearing this made a ton of sense. Create a lot of possibilities and fight that perfectionist mentality of only doing one correct thing and solely focusing on that. After the first 2 days of unfinished paintings, every decision I made was immediately met with convergent thinking, criticizing every move until nothing felt right. Only after, when the pressure was off to get it done in a single day, did I start to have fun creating again. To a certain extent, I was already doing this in the form of thumbnail sketches before the challenge even started, but even in those loose drawings, I would still not really allow myself to be as creative as I should have. But trying to spend a whole day on a fully rendered detail painting was just a bad idea. Once again, not the smartest move.
Tomorrow, do an exercise. Pick up a table fork, turn your 5-year-old on, and come up with 25 or 30 ideas on how to improve. Let that 5-year-old figure out ideas on how to improve that table fork. You can begin that exercise, and like anything else, you can start exercising that part of the brain and turn yourself into a great innovator of the wonderful future we can have if we start doing this. Thank you.
The art equivalent to this would be keeping a sketchbook and allowing yourself to be loose and come up with new ideas and not fall victim to the sketchbook tours you see on YouTube and think that your sketchbook has to look as clean and finished as theirs. I've done this before where I kept sketchbooks that were only full of super clean and finished stuff, and looking back, they were really just to show off. Oh, that thing, yeah, it's just sketchbook with a few doodles, like 5 minutes on that, not a big deal. My sketchbooks now look nowhere close to that. They're just random studies, random to-do lists throughout, and concepts after concepts for future paintings that are all crazy rough. But this is where the magic happens, where you generate new ideas. Since you're allowing yourself to be free and not worry about making something pretty, until you find something that you like and you can work that idea up more. I still fall victim to seeing my favorite artist artwork and assuming that the paintings just flow effortlessly out of them in a short amount of time. Then I always stumble across something that reminds me that these artists are human, and the results require time and effort. But at the same time, a lot of these artists also allow themselves to just enjoy the beginning stages. I said earlier that quality is objective and quantity is not. But can it be? Yes, Van Gogh and Picasso both painted thousands of paintings, but something I didn't mention is that the man who created the most famous painting in the world only created about 20 or so paintings over the course of his life, and spent well over a decade working on the Mona Lisa alone. If there was an advocate for quality over quantity, I can't think of a better one than the man Leo himself. While to Picasso and Van Gogh, spending a month on a painting may seem like an eternity, but to Da Vinci that may seem like a blink of an eye. To some people, this may seem like this is all just me coping with the fact that I couldn't get done 5 paintings in 5 days. And to those people I say, maybe. But the real goal here wasn't to make 5 paintings. It was about seeing what conclusions about creativity I could come to by attempting to produce a good amount of paintings in a short amount of time. Something that I realized is that I have been getting my paintings done quicker now, faster than ever. The past few paintings I made before this challenge really only took 1 to 2 weeks, compared to the past where I used to spend over a month on a painting. By just making a lot of paintings over a longer period of time, it unintentionally helped with my speed as well. But with this challenge, the conclusion that I came to was, when I had this time limit, every single idea I had felt useless, since no matter how good the idea was, I wouldn't be able to execute it how I wanted in the time given. And when I had a good rough idea that just needed a little more time, it wasn't worth spending that time on it, since I had to get started painting right away, so I had something to show by the end of the day. I began to realize that most of the creative process happens in the very beginning. It happens in those what seem to be non-precious, small beginning moments, when you're allowing yourself to just create without judgment. While lost in the sea of quality versus quantity, I realized that the real enemy here is perfectionism. Artists struggle all the time with starting when they have already convinced themselves that whatever they're going to make is already doomed to fail. These are people who struggle with quality. And to those people, I would suggest having time limits on your work. Maybe not a day, but something more reasonable. Artwork could always be better, but done is better than perfect if perfect means you never finish or even start. Art to me isn't just about getting stuff done though. It's about making stuff that I'm excited about, getting better at my craft, and making stuff I want to share with the world. Allowing yourself time to work on art is great, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to spend over a decade of my life working on a single painting alone, no matter how good the result is. There will always be a voice in the back of your head saying that the idea or the painting isn't good enough, but that's what drives us forward to the next painting and the next and the next, hopefully leading to quality and quantity. Giving yourself permission to enjoy coming up with new ideas, some good and some downright terrible, on a small scale without judgment, and then spending a reasonable amount of time polishing those ideas is a great start to improving creativity. So I guess this challenge was successfully failed. I didn't make 5 paintings in 5 days. But this challenge did remind me of something that maybe I lost a little bit along the way. Allowing myself to be freely creative, be a little less critical of myself, have fun a bit more, and just to enjoy the process. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video and I hope you were able to take something useful away from it. I'm curious what you guys think about quality versus quantity in terms of art. Does it differ to what I discovered or what I think? Let me know in the comments below. And if you have any other challenge you want to see me gloriously fail at, also let me know in the comments. I'd love to not complete it in the best way possible. Also, that Princess Mononoke piece that I showed a sneak preview at the end is a painting that I started after that day. I came up with a lot of concepts. I just wanted to put something at the end to show like, hey, I actually did come up with concepts that day and I'm working on something. If you want to see how that painting turns out, you can follow me on my other social medias. It's still a work in progress right now, but I'll be sure to post it there when it's done. Also have a link to my print shop below if anybody's interested in purchasing a print. It really helps out the channel and my art in general. If not, liking and subscribing really helps too. But yeah, thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it, and keep on making art. Bye.